This video is going to explain what the ATR indicator is and how it's used in stock trading. On my screen right now, I have a stock chart and it's for Apple. And you'll notice down here, I have the ATR indicator enabled. So ATR, first of all, it stands for average true range. And to understand that, first we need to understand what true range is. So when you look on my screen here, you'll see a bunch of different price bars, also known as price candles. And each one represents the price activity for the period selected for the chart. So for this chart, I'm using a daily chart, which means each of these price candles is 1 day of price activity. The true range for any of these given periods, in this case days, is taking the highest high price of that day and subtracting it from the lowest low price of that day. So for this right here, the true range, you would take the very highest high point and subtract it from the low. That would be the true range for that day. And again, this applies, regardless of which time frame you're looking at. If your chart is set to a 1 minute chart and each of the price bars represents 1 minute, you still can get a true range for any price bar by subtracting the high from the low for that price bar. So that's what a true range is. Now, average true range is simply taking the average of a group of true range values. By default, the average true range is typically set at 14 periods, which means you take the true range of the last 14 periods and average them out. You can adjust that though. You can adjust that setting. And in fact, I'm going to edit this study, in fact, to show you ways that you can customize the ATR. So you can change the length of the ATR to make it a different number of periods that you're averaging out. You can also change the average type. What I just described was a simple average, but there are different ways to do it that can give you different information. But by default, it's set at simple. So how can a trader use this information about ATR? Well, for one thing, it tells us information about the volatility of the stock's price in the recent past. It's measuring here how far the price is moving each day on average or each period on average. And that is a measure of price volatility. And, traders and investors can benefit from knowing just how volatile a given stock is. Another thing that some traders do is they measure their profit targets or stop losses for any given stock trade in terms of ATRs. And a reason for this is because it's kind of like having an apples to apples way to measure a given stock move regardless of which stock it is. Here's an example. Let's say that you are trying to come up with a trading plan for yourself and trying to figure out where are you going to set stop losses when you make stock trades. And let's say that you determine, I'll just set the stop loss at $20 away. Well, that could mean very different things for different stocks. If the stock is Tesla, it might move $20 in a day. For other stocks, it might take a year for it to move $20. So rather than use arbitrary numbers that mean different things for different stocks, if you measure your stop loss in terms of ATRs, now you're doing something that can be consistent across different stocks. Because no matter what the stock is, you're saying you're going to set your stop loss at, for example, if it's at 1 ATR away from your entry point, it's going to be equal to 1 day's worth of average price movement. And so it doesn't matter what the stock is, it's just going to look at its recent price activity and set the stop loss based on a measure of that. Setting the stop loss that way is not arbitrary. Instead, it's meaningful. And that's the beauty of ATR. My example here was setting a stop loss using ATR. But you can use ATR for any purpose that involves measuring the movement of a stock price. So for example, if you wanted to set a profit target, if you wanted to determine where your entry point would be, you could measure it in terms of ATRs from the current price. If you're creating your own trading strategy or investing strategy, you could measure price movements in ATRs. And the benefit is that it gives you an apples to apples way to measure a stock's price movement across different stocks. If you have questions about ATR or questions about the stock market in general, you can definitely email us anytime. It's support@stockmarketguides.com.